Ricardo, welcome to the show, mate. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I do appreciate it, mate. How are you?
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm doing fine. Bit cold today, but that's February for you. There you go.
Good. Well, mate, um, I do appreciate you coming on and taking the time, because I know that you're a busy man and you do a lot of things. So it's always good to. I'm trying to keep this series going where I sit down with like all the top level leaders and coaches for all the international communities around the world. So it's going to be fun to get all of you guys together and all the different opinions in that. I can't wait till the series actually starts going. So without wasting any further time, I'll just get straight into the questions, mate, if you don't mind it, and we'll go for there and we'll chat about it.
Sure, go ahead.
Awesome, awesome. So, Richard, can you give me a brief overview of the history of sumo in Switzerland itself and how that's evolved over the years to now?
Okay, so sumo in Switzerland started, I think, 1994, 1995, mid 1990s anyway, when there was the big push of IFS to get more international, well, more national federations into the thing, and basically they contacted Francois Val, who was a fourth or fifth dan black belt judoka in Geneva, to see if he would be willing to set something up about sumo in Switzerland, which he was. He got in contact with the Geneva Swiss Wrestling Club, with a guy who was run by a guy called Mark Howdy. And they basically went from there and started Swiss Sumo just to sort of as the Geneva Club. And that was it. Um, Going from that, then they just went with the Geneva Club for, I think, about, it must be 10 years. I started in 2002 because in 2002, one of the Geneva guys won a medal at the Europeans in Germany, and it was in the local papers. And at the end of the news article, it said, if you're interested in trying, come down and give it a try, which I did. And I loved it. And they were happy with me. I mean, I was already a big guy, and it just went from there. I trained for a couple of years, going down twice a week to Geneva. Then in 2005, I went to Visegrad in Hungary for the Europeans. And in the same year, I went to Osaka for the Worlds in October. And at the Osaka annual general meeting, the IFS annual general meeting that year, it was asked that, well, when they found out I was from Lausanne, which is where the Olympic Committee is, it was asked that I form a club in the Lausanne area so that would be a direct contact with the Olympic Committee. Obviously, they were pushing to get into the Olympics at this period. And so basically, I came back from Osaka, went to see my local sports minister at the town in London, where I live, which is just outside Lausanne, and said, look, we want to start up a sumo club. I need a sports place. And they were pretty enthusiastic, I must say. They were very enthusiastic, and they gave me a sports hall twice a week. And it grew from there a bit. There were two clubs for quite a long time. And it went pretty well. We were having sort of participation in international competitions. We were organizing competitions. I organized the 2009 Europeans, which was a huge do because everybody wanted to come to Switzerland. It still, in fact, now has the record of being the highest number of sumo fighters outside of Japan in history, with 436 people fighting.
Awesome.
And then it just went from there. Unfortunately, then there was the big rupture in European sumo, which everybody in Europe knows about, and probably most of the other people do too, which left Western Europe sort of out on a limb, and there wasn't much doing apart from sort of local stuff for a few years. Then there was COVID, which sort of screwed everybody. And then in 2022 or 2021, Francois died of cancer. And I was sort of elected. Well, I wasn't sort of, I was elected president because it was more or less between me and Mark. And Mark said, I don't want to do it because I don't speak English. And so I was sort of left with the presidency. And I said, right, well, I'm going to get it Swiss Sumo back up on the rails again and into the international
As
competition again.
someone who's played various roles within the Swiss Sumo Society and the scene altogether since 2002, including now, obviously serving as the president, what is your experience and challenges been trying to develop? Because when you spoke about getting a sports hall in Lausanne and that, it seemed like they were quite enthusiastic about it. What sort of hurdles have you been facing over the years, even over just the past couple of years since your presidency?
I think the main problem about developing sumo has always been the negative image of sumo in the sort of unaware public eye of
Mm.
being the fat guys in nappies.
Aye, listen, mate. That's it. You know that I make it my mission to crush that. Although we value our big men,
Yeah,
and it is a big man sport. It's not only a big man sport. That's what people forget. Like it's not just for big men.
yeah,
It is a big man sport, but we can all do it. There's weight classes internationally.
yeah,
Only in Japan does it matter. Can it matter if you're a Goliath or not? And even nowadays, that isn't always the biggest key to
true.
be big. So I definitely enjoy I enjoy two things. One, crushing the stereotypes, and two, see when I tell people I'm genuinely a champion and stuff like that in sumo wrestling, or well, former now, but when I was, the
Yeah,
shock in people's face because I'm built at the side of a twig, so you know
yeah,
what I mean. I'm not a big fat guy, and they don't. So I for one can definitely comprehend and understand where you're coming from in regards to the
yeah.
misconceptions what people
Yeah,
seen on
that is
Channel
that is
4.
I think the biggest problem we have is the sort of negative stereotype of what people sort of general public think. So
Aye, aye.
you know, there's ladies who do it, and there's weight categories and age categories. And I show them some photos of the sort of lightweight kids that I've got that are fighting, and they say they're not fat. Sort of, no, they're not.
No, I find that a lot of people who are a wee bit like they end up being the ones that enjoy it the most. I found that a lot of cases. But again, I've even said this to my guys. I've been really lucky. Like it's a stroke of luck that it just so happened that there was a lot of guys so keen to try sumo when I brought sumo to Scotland that I was just very lucky, mate. And I'm really grateful for that. That the
Mhm.
marble sort of just fell into my pocket with that. Um with a great bunch of guys I got. But that leads me to my actual next question because due to the misconceptions of the stereotypes, and it does turn a lot of faces away, what's the current state of the Swiss sumo scene in terms of participation, popularity, and any recent developments or initiatives that you're putting in place to try and help boost it?
We have got several things going. Um, well, obviously, the two clubs in Lausanne and Geneva are still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
We have um, been in contact for about 2 years now with a lady called Selena, who is basically a kendo black belt, and who runs a Japanese cultural center in Lucerne, which is in the center of Switzerland, in the German speaking part. And she wanted us to go up once and give a sumo demonstration, sort of initiation type thing. And all her folks loved it. and we regularly go up there for sumo days, and they will do sumo stuff. They're starting to participate more. We're going to get them to come down into the Swiss Sumo Open in this autumn. Um, apart from that, we're working also with a guy called Stefan, who is an old Swiss wrestler and judoka, who, in fact, was with Mark at the very beginning in the 1990s on the Swiss team, and who now lives in Fribourg area, which is about 50 miles from my place. And he's working with the Fribourg Swiss wrestling and Greco-Roman wrestling communities there to start up a club. We're going up about once a month to teach sumo there. They're looking to get their own sumo equipment and start up a club there. So we're getting clubs started up again. Hopefully they will fit in. We've also got an initiative with the local children's hospital, Ainsley, working with obese kids, and we're going to be teaching them sumo for several reasons, not as sort of to become sumo fighters themselves, but I mean, if anybody wants to, they can, but
Mhm.
mainly to sort of physically get them moving again rather than just behind their PS5. Yeah, and also to get sort of give them a positive body image of themselves again. Because I mean, yeah, you can do this when you are fat. Sumo has been sort of evolved for fat people. You don't do cardio, you do explosive exercises that are just as killing, I mean, on a physical level, but I mean which obese people can do
Aye,
rather than
aye.
going running around the playing field 10 times, I mean, which they couldn't.
Sumo is definitely one of the only sports where you can genuinely be a huge man and be very fit at the same time. And that's something that you want to look at Japan for, especially because the guys at the top of the field are prime examples of exactly that. That it does promote a level of fitness, and that those guys intentionally put on all this weight to be huge and heavy and hard to move. But if you do sumo without the added eating after practice, like all of that eating, you're going to become just monstrously fit and athletic and things like that. Do you know what I
Oh
mean? It's
yeah,
only
oh
equal
yeah,
to the amount that they eat and the exercise that makes them fat and
yeah,
fit.
yeah. I mean, I was at the gym about 2 weeks ago, and I mean, obviously, I'm huge. I mean, I'm almost up to 200 kilos. Um, and the guy was saying, "Well, how can you do what you're doing?" And I said, "Because I've always done it, and I've never stopped. The only time I've stopped was when I had knee problems or when I had other problems like that." I said, "Well, what do you know about sumo?" And he said, "Well, oh, sumo. Yeah, okay, sumo squats." And he knew sumo squats.
Aye, that's there's definitely a knowledge out there, and with guys like you working to break, the best thing that you're doing, mate, is working with those kids, because not only is it giving them something and something extra and teaching them about fitness and all of that, but it's also giving sumo a wee chance to breathe more in Switzerland. And because even if the boys don't join or whatever, they'll be able to go out and say, no, that really helped me get fit, or that gave me some direction, or whatever they might get out of it. It's always good. It's definitely always good. We've talked a while now, and you've mentioned some of the fantastic things that are happening recently in Swiss sumo. So the demos you guys are doing, you're going to work with these kids, the multiple clubs, this new club with Stefan that you're talking that they're looking for equipment. It seems like, mate, the ball's really rolling for Swiss sumo, and that's fantastic to hear. So based on that, looking ahead, what do you envision for the future of Swiss sumo? And what steps are being taken to grow and promote the sport further outside of the club you're trying to set up and the demos and the work with kids? Is there anything else that you have planned for the future? Mind leaving out the Swiss Sumo Open, because we are going to get to that, mate, and chat about it. So you can't include that in it, because obviously that would be a great answer, but that's get its own question.
they're the main avenues at the moment, which is sort of new clubs, uh, getting new members into the actual clubs that already exists.
No, let me cut you off
Uh,
here, mate. Let me interrupt you for a second. I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me rephrase my question a bit and all, because I'm actually inquisitive about to know this specifically. In regards to wrestlers, are you more focused right now on building the foundations and spreading it in Switzerland, or are you trying to actively seek out somebody who has the potential to go on and win top level competition right now? Or are you more bothered about that coming after you do this? What way, what direction are you going with that over the coming years?
no, I would say at least the next year or two, we are
Mhm.
looking to increase numbers.
Aye,
Go for work from the bottom up. We don't want well, I mean, if there's one that comes by, I mean, I'm not going to say no, but I wouldn't say I'm actively looking for sort of some high level, high rank personality as a sort of um, public figure for Swiss Sumo. No, no, definitely not. I want kids to get in. I want the adults to get in, and I mean, start from scratch. If they don't know
aye.
wrestling, if they don't know judo or something, some other martial art like that, start from scratch. I would prefer 10 who start from scratch rather than a sort of high ranking black belt judo guy coming in and say, oh, I can do this.
I agree, mate. I agree that it's not something that you would turn away or stick your nose up about, but it's definitely shouldn't be the main focus while you're trying to build it. So I absolutely agree with you. I was at an event that you recently organised myself with a team, guys taking the first ever, not only the first ever youth team for Scotland, but the first ever British youth team to any official tournament in the history of humanity. And I got the honour of leading and organising and coaching that and coming to your event, mate. So could you tell us all about, mate, the Junior European Championships event held in November of 2023, including standout moments for you, achievements that happened for participants from Switzerland and from other European countries?
Okay. Basically, this was sort of a big shot of getting Switzerland back into the European sumo map. Was organizing this junior championships, and it was hell. It was seriously hell. Um,
I can imagine.
uh, yeah, I mean, there was so much to think about and so much to do. And in fact, what made it even more hell was originally it was planned for the 7th and 8th of October. And literally, when we'd signed the contract with the European Sumo Fed, 3 days later, Tokyo put out, "Oh yeah, World Championships is the 7th and 8th of October." So, so we literally took the papers and screwed them up, and that was it. Um, and that was a big problem for us because it meant that we could still have the sports hall where it was, but we didn't have the preparation time because October is school holidays, so we had sort of time to get stuff up, time to get stuff down. Doing it in November instead um, literally meant that we had to put a whole swimmer arena up in one evening. We got into that hall at 4 p.m. on the Friday evening, and it had to be up and running by 10 o'clock on the Saturday morning. And we were ready, I think, at just before midnight. I had a
Oh,
team of 20 people working sort of 8 hours non-stop to get that place going.
aye. Do you know who I have to shout out for that European Junior Championships? Your right hand at that event, Tice. See
Yeah.
Tice Hansen,
Oh,
one of my
he did a,
he's
he did a
he's one of
huge
my
amount of
dear
work.
friends. He is a he's just a legend of a guy, man. I never heard him complain once, mate. He never complained to me about anything once. He was just getting on with it. He was trying to solve everybody's problems. He was running after everybody. The boy was stressed to no end. I say boy, he's a grown ass man, but the guy was stressed to no end. And I, man, it was just at times I felt sorry for him, but he just kept going. I was like, that's the type of people that you need involved in your organization and who you want.
Oh yeah,
And then of course I
oh
got to
yeah, he
catch
is.
up with him, and you know what I mean. And we got a time because we were staying in the same place, the same accommodation, so
Yeah.
we had time to catch up. And I'm really looking forward to him being able to come back to Scotland and see me again. So mate, in regards to that, before I make Ticey's head any bigger when he's listening to this episode, um, what was standout moments for you during the event, and could you maybe pick a couple of standout athletes?
Okay. One standout moment that we really had, and we were really fortunate to have, was during the opening ceremony, because we had the president of the Vaudois government come. And she came, and I mean, it's extremely rare to be able to. I mean, you can imagine the amount of work she has, and to be able to get her there to do the official opening, and that was sort of a real honor for us. And it got us known also by the Vaudois people or the canton in general, because that went onto their official website. That was a big moment. And I mean, plus the fact that there were folk from the Japanese embassy there as well, who had come down from Bern to be present. That was really, that was a good moment for us.
Awesome, mate.
Um, Other things, I mean, the we had 16 hours of sumo over 2 days, and I mean it was huge. We had 251 kids fighting in different competitions over 2 days. It was just a huge event. Um, as of people who stepped out, I mean, I was having I had one guy come. I known him for I've known him since he was a junior, about at least 12, 13 years ago, who lives in Poland. And I saw him in September in the adults, and we were chatting. And I flew him down to Switzerland, and he did all the live streaming. He worked in that sort of area, and he did my live streaming on YouTube for the whole event. He did a big amount of work too over the weekend. I had Eva, who is a local girl who was doing all my translation into Polish with for Darius and Magda. She did a huge amount of work too.
So I'm curious
Yep.
about the upcoming Swiss Sumo Open 2024. What can attendees and participants expect from this event? How significant is it for the Swiss Sumo community? And what's the deal, mate? Give me the lowdown.
Well, basically, as with any open, it's sort of who wants to come can come. Obviously, we'll have a sort of limit on the amount of people who can be just for logistics. I would say the limit would be about 60, 70 people. That's fighters. Because more than that, I mean, it gets into things like multiple hotels, feeding problem. 70 people I can sit in the hall that's next door for food. More than that, it's going to be difficult. Um, so it'd probably be limited to about that number on a sort of basically first come first served system. Um, what does it mean to Swiss Sumo? Well, obviously, it's a big sort of publicity thing for us locally and for us sort of on the international sumo scene. It's going to be a fun event. It's going to be a 1 day event on a Saturday
What date?
because usually
What's the specific date of it, mate? I'll have the date on screen as you're
it's
talking
the
about it,
fifth.
and then I'll cut this wee bit out, mate. So it's all good. It's all good.
Okay, it's the fifth of October. Um, and yeah, so we should have quite a few folk. I've had folk from America who couldn't come last time, or who didn't come last time, say, "Oh, we're sad we missed out on that. We'll have to come this time." Um, I've had Canadians say the same thing. Um, the Indians want to come back. I've had the Sri Lanka team want to come. Yeah, we're going to get quite a few. Egypt has said they want to come. Egypt wanted to come last time, but they had problems because they were too late getting the visas. So we'll have to get them in earlier for visas. Yeah, should be good fun.
Cool. Awesome, mate.
Because of
Well,
the, because of the because of the Europeans as well. In fact, we didn't have many folk from Europe come last time. Strangely, we had France and Britain who came, and
you had
yeah, there
France,
was
Scotland, and England. I don't know what you're talking about. You had France, Scotland, and England the last time.
France, Scotland, and
Britain was
England. Yes,
not
that's
there.
true. Yeah.
Now there's a
Sorry,
Britain.
sorry.
Now there's a British sumo, and I am a happy member of it. But then there,
Yeah,
that you can't count that. But
yeah. At
anyway,
that
jokes
time,
aside, so the event, as you can see, guys, the event is up on screen now. If you want to check that out, I'm sure Richard will be sorting out a live stream for that as well, or a pre-recording and post later on. Either way, we'll let you
it,
know.
it
So,
should be a,
Richard,
it should be a, it should be a live stream. Yeah.
so that brings us to the end of the episode, mate. Is there anything that you want to put out there or say before we wrap up the show?
Not particularly. Not
Okay, mate,
particularly.
no worries, no
I'm
worries.
happy with
Well,
that.
Well, mate, I just want to say thanks very much for taking the time out of your day to come and sit and talk about Swiss Sumo and that. I really appreciate it in this series that I'm trying to build to educate people more on just how the intricacies and how huge sumo actually is. Do you know what I mean,
Mm.
mate? So I do appreciate that. So thanks very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Ah, you're very welcome, mate. And with that, sumo fans, that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And guys, if nothing else, you know what I'm going to say? Do me a favour because you'll do your a turn. Like, subscribe, hit that bell. Oh, what a nugget!
What